Hi everyone. Today, this week, and next week, we are going to be discussing social media. So this week, we talk about broadly how to construct a social media strategy and the steps in planning for social media. We will also touch on what platforms are best for what uses. And then next week, we will discuss best practices for each of the major social media platforms. I also want to let you know that in the nonprofit marketing class, Arts and Nonprofit Marketing, we go a little bit deeper into social media because we actually put it into practice within the context of nonprofit marketing. So it used to be that when we talked about doing social media in marketing, and still lay people, when they think about doing social media, what they mean is posting stuff. So creating content, creating posts, and putting them out into the world on the various platforms. But as marketers, as people who have studied marketing, you should know that there is more to it. Yes, posting content is one of the major things that we do. We do it to create new customers, to increase the loyalty of existing customers, get them to keep coming back to us and buying more things from us. And also, we do it for search engine optimization. So remember when we talked about backlinking and using your keywords in various places, that does help your SEO when you do so on social media as well, but it shouldn't really be your primary strategy. Think about SEO on social media only when you've done it really well on your website. And then social media also involves paid advertising. And when we talk about paid advertising, we don't just mean boosting a post. So if you have a Facebook business page or a business page on Instagram or others, you've probably noticed that, particularly on Facebook, if you post something, it gives you the option to boost it or pay to have it fed to more people, to have it appear on more people's news feed. But paid advertising is much more than that. You can actually create a social media campaign that is very targeted on the various platforms, meaning you create it from the ground up just for it to be an ad, and you select specific geographies and other specific demographics and maybe people who are interested in certain keywords for it to appear on their news feed. And finally, doing social media also involves reputation management. So you may remember these expressions from the HubSpot certification: social monitoring and social listening. Social listening is sort of the 30,000 feet away approach, where we're taking a very top level, top view of what our customers or what anyone really is saying about us on social media and integrating that data together, crunching it and integrating it together to get a holistic picture. Whereas social monitoring is really being in the weeds and looking at all of the mentions of us one by one, trying to respond to them one by one, whether they're positive or negative. And they're both very important for helping our reputation. Okay, and here are some examples of different tools that companies use to listen and to monitor, to listen to and to monitor their social media. There are dozens, but these are ones that I find particularly good. I have some experience with HubSpot and with Sprout Social, but I have a lot of respect for the other three I've listed on here as well. These platforms allow you to manage what you're posting on your different social media pages, but they also pull all of the mentions of your brand or of your company from all around the web. They help you respond to a lot of the mentions. They automate the process of seeing whether these mentions are positive and negative. And some of them have different options. Some of them work with different platforms, but they're worth checking out. You, especially HubSpot, take the opportunity of having that educational access and look at some of the options that they give you. One thing that the book goes into that is related to this aspect right here, posting content to increase customer loyalty, is the loyalty path. And I wanted to go into it in a little bit more detail. When we discuss acquisition, we're not really talking about acquiring a social media follower. We're talking about acquiring someone as a customer. So the customer's first purchase. So the first step of the loyalty path is acquiring the customer, acquiring the person as a customer, having them become a customer by making their first purchase. And the idea is, once we acquire them as a customer, if we're able to engage with them on a regular basis from that point on, whether that is on social media or elsewhere, but in the context we're discussing now, that should happen on social media, that should lead to loyalty. And so in today's world, where social media allows for much more of that engagement in many more ways than we used to have available to us, that can really increase our chances of having customers be loyal to us and coming back to purchase from us over and over again. Analysis is such an important aspect of this diagram here and of the loyalty path. While you're engaging with the customer and building their loyalty, it's really important to monitor, monitor how these engagements take place, monitor new acquisitions, monitor recurring purchases from existing customers, and that's how you can see whether you're being successful or not. Okay, so just like we've discussed that doing social media is not just posting stuff, you don't want to be doing it haphazardly. You want to have a plan and a strategy. And the social media planning consists of various steps. People organize it in different ways, but for our purposes, we look at it as a 5-step process: setting objectives, choosing the platform or platforms you're going to be on, planning your content and creating it, and then distributing it, putting it out there on the social media, and then measuring your performance and success. You've read all about this, or you will read about it, so I'm not going to go into each of these steps in detail, but I do want to highlight some important aspects of them. So on step 2, choosing the platform, your book discusses important tips for how to choose a platform, and I want to go over this in a little bit of a different way. I want to tell you some of the highlights from each platform. So Facebook is always where we suggest that companies start. It is the biggest social media platform. If you are a company, you usually need a Facebook page. And I emphasize a page. It should be a business page. Don't just set it up as a regular personal profile. Facebook allows for a variety of content. You can post videos, you can make long posts. It's very versatile that way. And people obviously see it as a news source right now. So that's very powerful. One unfortunate thing is that organic reach for businesses has gone down from what it used to be. Everyone talks about the algorithms and how they're not helping businesses. So to have your content fed to people, you often need to pay for it on Facebook. Believe it or not, the next largest platform is YouTube. We do consider YouTube a social media platform. 300 hours of video are uploaded onto YouTube every day. I imagine that with the current situation that the world is going through, it might be even more right now. And it's also a search engine. So it's not only a social media platform, but we also consider it a search engine. And YouTube works well with Facebook as well, because you can post videos on it and then link to them on Facebook. Instagram is, of course, owned by Facebook, very fast growing. 90% of the audience is under 35 years right now, 35 years old, but that's changing very quickly. The audience is getting a little bit older as more and more people go to Instagram. Brand engagement is really high on Instagram, so people like to see content from their brands that they follow for whatever reason. So we like to take advantage of that. Twitter. Okay, are you guys on Twitter? Twitter is a microblogging tool. You can post a limited number of characters that they've changed a couple times, but it's good for by-the-minute news. It's good for keeping track of trends that your competition is doing, and it's also good for posting very frequently. It's completely normal to post 10 times a day on Twitter, and it usually won't bother anyone. LinkedIn is excellent for business-to-business communication. Some companies have really nurtured their LinkedIn following very well. EY, the accounting company, is one that has excellent presence on LinkedIn. Snapchat. I don't know, are you guys still on Snapchat? Instagram has taken a lot of Snapchat's market share recently, but it's still there. Snapchat users tend to skew very young in the 12 to 24 age range. So if that is your target market, you need to be thinking about Snapchat. And then Pinterest, of course, is very visual, but one really unique thing about Pinterest is that the life of their posts is extremely long. So whereas things live on Instagram or on Facebook for only a few hours, sometimes a couple days, on Pinterest, posts can live for about 3 months and still be fresh, and people will be referring back to them. And then finally, TikTok. I don't know, you guys. TikTok is new and weird, but some brands have been using it very successfully. We don't even have a lot of guidelines about it yet because it's so new. 14-second videos, very young users, the youngest, maybe even younger than Snapchat users. Lots of weird pranks and jokes and videos, but it's becoming more and more popular by the day. If you want to check it out, take a look at what Taco Bell have been doing on TikTok. Okay, another step that I wanted to go to in a little bit more detail is how you plan the content. So when you're planning and creating content for social media, you want to do 3 things, the 3 things that are listed at the top here. You want your content to attract attention. You want to communicate what we call a unique value proposition. What about your brand or your offering makes it stand out? You want to include a call to action. You should already know that from everything we've talked about, from the website and from SEO and search ads. So these are your top 3 things. But then general guidelines to keep in mind: always be consistent in your branding and your messaging. You want it to be clear that this message came from your brand. You don't want to throw off your customers. And create and use a social media style guide. Your organization should have a style guide that tells it how to behave on social media. And I want to show you a really good example that maybe you can relate to because it's from a university. NYU has a particularly good style guide that shows everyone who manages social media for that university what to do. So it first lists all of the accounts that they are active on. It talks about the voice. What should their voice and tone be? So it says that they are fun and witty and engaged. It says that their tone should be energetic and enthusiastic. And then, let's see, they discuss how they should engage with other accounts. They also discuss very specific things like words not to be used. They want to use residence halls instead of dorms. They want to use course of study instead of major. That's very, very specific. And then they also have, let's see where that was. They have guidelines on how many times a day to post. So that is also very specific and very useful. And that's the type of information that you want to see on your social media style guide. And then finally, when you're planning the content, you want your followers to find two types of value in your content: utilitarian value and entertainment value. You want your content to add something to them that is worth something in a utilitarian way, meaning you could pay for it. That can be in the form of a coupon, for example, or announcing a sale, but it can also be like what Under Armour did here on a recent Instagram post, where they provided a video of an at-home workout that people could do. But then you also sometimes want your posts to just be entertaining. So Taco Bell provided a story of a couple that just got married, and they describe how Taco Bell played a big role in their relationship. And that, builds the brand, but at the same time, it's just fun to read. Okay, the final step is measuring success. We talked about these key performance indicators in a different context so far, and we use the same ones for social media: reach, impressions, engagement, conversion. You guys know what all of these terms mean. Please review them if you need a refresher. But then specifically for social listening, we also talk about volume and sentiment. So we talk about how many times were we mentioned, and believe it or not, we can automatically track sentiment. It's not perfect, but some of those social monitoring tools, the social listening tools I referred to, can actually tell you how many times the mentions of your brand were positive and how many times they were negative. I just wanted to show you, this is just a very simple, the insights page from a Facebook business page. So if you click on insights on a business page, you can see, this is the first view you'll get, how many likes you got in the past week, what your reach was, what your engagement was, your responsiveness to private messages that you got, and so on and so forth. And then you can dig deeper. And this is, of course, not analyzed at all. This is just the raw data. But if you use a tool like HubSpot or Sprout Social or others that I mentioned, they analyze the data in a little bit more detail for you. Okay, a couple of other things that I want to quickly mention. Everyone talks about going viral. So what is it, how do you go viral, or what should you think about? So content that goes viral, there's no exact science for it, but content that goes viral tends to be humorous, visually appealing, and or just outrageous, just over the top outrageous. There's a really important study that was done in MIT just recently, just a few years ago, where the study author asked, her name was Tucker, I believe Catherine Tucker, she asked, is there a trade-off between going viral and persuading people to buy your product? So essentially conversions. And she found that with humorous and visual content, there really wasn't much of a trade-off. You could convert customers. But with over-the-top outrageous posts, they tended to really go viral really effectively, but they did not help your conversion. So they could build your brand, but they would not directly lead to sales. So that's interesting to keep in mind. And then finally, I can't talk about social media without at least mentioning influencer marketing. An influencer is someone who has a following, usually in a particular niche, and has the power to affect purchase decisions of their following due to that person's knowledge, authority, or their relationship with their audience. And every once in a while, someone comes out in marketing and says, influencer marketing is dead, or it's changed, or influencers are not going to be as effective. And I don't believe that's true. I think that there will be a place for influencers for a long time to come, simply because of the relationships they're able to build with audiences. Audiences trust people with whom they have relationships. And I've listed here just some of the various ways that brands can partner with influencers. Okay, that was a quick overview. I've promised that I will try to keep these lectures short. If you have any questions, if you want to go into more detail about any of these concepts, please get in touch with me. Meet me on Zoom via Teams during our regular class times, and we will continue the discussion on the discussion forum. Thanks, everyone.